my name's Cody, and for the past 3 years, I've been working as an assistant psychologist. I graduated in psychology at the University of Hertfordshire. Honestly, I loved the career. However, the progression was quite slow, and I wasn't rewarded for the hard work that I was putting in. I worked in a prison, and it almost felt like I was in a prison in the job and the career itself. However, after that, obviously, I stumbled across a few of Bilal's TikToks, and honestly, there was a couple other competitors in that space as well. But it really resonated with me because I saw, I think it was Mustafa's videos as well. Yeah. And that sort of proof really led me to explore. And I'd had a bit of success actually landing some interviews in health tech. Yeah. Obviously, I was working in psychology, so I was in the healthcare domain. And I thought, right, I want to go into tech sales. That's going to be the only way I can access it, is going through health tech. And I had a few interviews, but they ended up failing. So then I thought, right, this is enough. I need to take some action. And that's when, obviously, I reached out to you guys, the Break Into Tech course, and took that leap of faith. And I was saying before this today, it was, honestly, I look back at that decision. I think, wow, I should have done it sooner. I could have saved myself a year of trying to get into health tech sales prior to that. But yeah, so that's awesome. That's how I'm here today.
Let me ask you this straight. I'm going to dive straight in. How did you make a decision to go from a psychologist into tech sales? Completely different worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to say they're completely different worlds because there's some transferable skills over there. But yeah, no, it was more so just the progression. So for context, you have to complete a bachelor's and get a degree in psychology. Then you need to gain relevant experience. You capped at around 30 grand until you get onto the next step, which is the doctorate, which is further 3 years of training. But after university, it takes about 3 to 4 years of applying to the doctorate to actually get on the course.
Right.
And so for me, from where I am today, it would take me another 5 years before I'm even qualified as a clinical psychologist. So I was drained, and I thought, right, I need to take that step and just accelerate that progression. I want to feel like I'm liberated in the career that I'm in.
How long would it take to get to £100,000 a year as a psychologist in the UK?
In the UK, I mean, there's two different paths you can go down. You can go through the traditional route and you can be employed by the NHS. Typically, that's going to take about sort of 15 years. So I think for context, I would be 43 when I get to that salary. I mean, you do have the option to go private, but almost you're running your own business anyway. Yeah. You could start any business now and get to that.
You might as well be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. Like a couple of days ago, I made a video about salary progression of an NHS nurse. And I swear to God, it takes about 20 years to get to 100K a year in 2026. How does that even make sense?
It's ridiculous. I think they're so underpaid for the work that they do.
Yeah.
And it takes years of getting there, and like they're essential public service. Yeah. And it's terrible. And that's why when I saw tech sales and I started learning about it, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've been living under a rock my whole life.
Yeah. When you were considering a career shift from being a psychologist to a different job for the salary progression, for the career progression, what else did you look at? Did you look at any other tech jobs, product management, marketing, project management, anything else?
I didn't, because I was completely sold from the videos that I'd seen online from your account and other various people. I have friends that work in tech sales as well. So I just did so much research into it, and I was like, right, I'm not even looking into it. But just from friends that are working in the corporate world in different professions, they've been in it for 7 years, and none of them are exceeding 6 figures as of yet. And that's why I was like, well, tech sales, everything I've learned about, it's approximately 2 years to get into it. So right, we'll just put all my eggs in one basket. And I was just adamant from that point, right, this is the career for me.
That's amazing. I think earlier you mentioned you were trying to get into tech sales for about a year before you joined Break Into Tech. How long did it take you to get into tech sales after you joined Break Into Tech?
Yeah, so it took me about a year of trying before I entered the Break Into Tech course. And then from that point, it was 3 months.
3 months,
and
okay.
it felt easy, whereas before it felt quite laborious and difficult, and I was unsure. It almost felt like I was in a forest with no way out. Whereas when I entered the course, there was a clear direction out of the forest and landing that job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And in your current company, roughly, what's the first year's total salary? You can just give us a rough range. And then how long would it take you to get to about £100,000 a year if you stayed at the same company or moved over a little bit to a different company?
Within my role, it's 45,000 OTE with a 30k base. Now, because it's a startup, the structure of progression is a little bit more unclear. It could be fast, it could be slower, but approximately about 18 months to get to, I would guess, around 80 to £100,000 a year. Now, if you sort of pivoted it into a different company or a different industry within the tech space, another company that I had applied for prior to landing this role, I think the progression was a year and a half into a 130,000 account executive role.
That's insane. Yeah. So it would take you about a year and a half to get to 100 plus K, whereas in healthcare it would have been 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Insane. In your experience of doing all of these interviews, what would you say are the top hardest interview questions, and how did you go about answering them? Did you have a framework in your head, or did you have a process, a structure to answer the hardest questions?
I think it was a matter of trial and error. Right. I'll be honest with you. I think the fact that I landed so many interviews compared to previously through those 3 months, the first 5 to 10 days of being in it, like, I just picked up so much, and it was and then I consolidated all the information in the Break Into Tech course, and then the rest of it just felt pretty easy. And I just knew it was a matter of time before I'd land that role. But yeah, I think just mixing that sort of professional and personal approach was really important to me. And I think I don't want to sound a little bit too narcissistic, but the personal side was a lot easier for me. It was just picking up those keywords, those buzzwords that you need to chuck in.
Yeah.
And that's what accelerated it.
Okay. So it was a matter of just getting loads of interviews in a shortened period of time, and then keep trying to see what answer you should give in each interview question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the interviews were a little bit more technical, and then some of them were more personal, and they just wanted to see that personality and ability to adapt to the role. Because, I mean, in my current job, there were people that had worked in sales prior that applied for the same job, and I was the one that actually ended up getting the role. And I think it was purely from the soft skills that I was able to express in that interview process.
Let me ask you this: this is obviously a really common question when you're transitioning from a career into another career, what answer would you give when they asked you, why do you want to stop being a psychologist and get into tech sales?
Well, I think it all boils down to the progression and the salary, really. It was such an easy thing for me to convince, and it was more just that hard work that I'm putting in and just being able to get reward for it. Whereas in psychology, I wasn't able to achieve that. So it was quite clear to them from that conversation of why.
Yeah. And I think people watching this, they're going to be like, oh, that's not a good idea to tell a hiring manager all you care about is money. In tech sales, that's actually a good answer.
Yeah.
Because if you're not money motivated, why would you work in sales?
100%. And I think that was quite a weird one to adjust to, because I think if you did that in any other job interview, they'd be like, right, get out now.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine doing that as a nurse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'd be like, do you know the cost of living at the moment?
Yeah. It's crazy. What would you say are the top 3 job sites that got you the most amount of interviews?
Do you know what? I think initially I was going through the mass application phase, and fortunately through the daily Q&As that we had, I came to one of the Q&A sessions and asked, like, the mass application side isn't working. I think I've landed 3 interviews out of 50 applications, right? And just the time that I invested into it wasn't necessarily worth it. And then that's where you came back and you said, right, go through LinkedIn, position yourself strongly, and that's where you'll see the results. And then after that, I didn't even have to apply for jobs. I had people coming to me for roles that are worth, I think, 70,000 a year, and they were coming and just offering the interview
it's
purely
crazy.
Because of that.
So just LinkedIn optimization is the best way.
That is, like, I genuinely think it doesn't matter what career you're in. Forget applying. 100%. Just go on LinkedIn and then call them up after. And
the thing is, people know that if you're like in an experienced career, like if you worked in tech for 10 years, you never have to apply to jobs, or even if you're a doctor for 10 years, because you already have an established profile and you get 10 recruiters a day messaging you. Whereas someone who's younger, they don't really know that. So that's why to them it might be news, whereas people already...
And I was literally having this conversation today. That's why it took me so long, because I was going down the completely wrong path.
Just massively.
And that has changed the way that I perceive the whole corporate world in general. 100%.
LinkedIn is the best platform of all time for jobs, obviously. Maha, for example, she's only 23 or something, and in her job, I think it's close to 6 figures, her first year salary. She landed 21 interviews in like 2 weeks, all inbound from LinkedIn, just positioning everything on the profile. So that totally makes sense. What would you say are your top 3 no-nos when it comes to interviews in general?
Top 3 no-nos.
Top 3 mistakes that graduates or people that are transitioning into tech sales, or people that are transitioning from one career to another, they're constantly doing interviews and they keep failing. What are your top 3 no-nos with regards to that?
I would say the way that you position yourself, in the sense, initially it was almost like I was desperate to get into tech sales, whereas and that came off, and they don't want someone like that. They want someone that knows their value.
Surprise, they want someone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the questions change, like from, I don't know, I guess it changed to more so like, right, okay, well, what the KPIs, what the targets that I'm going to have to hit, and what value can this job provide me, rather than the other way around. And that's where I started noticing that the interviewers actually respected me, and the interviews were a lot more conversational. And it really worked in my favor in that sense.
And that is by far the best interviews, when they're conversational. Like when I had my final round interview, actually all of my interviews with my company Stability, it was all conversational. Even when I got my role at Google, my internship in 2019, it was all conversational.
Yeah. Because
we had built up enough rapport for it to just be a conversation rather than an interview process.
It's a strange feeling, because I when I initially had that in one of my first interviews, I was like, this doesn't feel like an interview.
Yeah.
And then I realized, just after reflecting, I was like, I've done the interview perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it doesn't feel like an interview, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a green flag.
When you were doing all of your interviews for these tech sales jobs, one of the most common interview questions that people get stuck on is when the company asks them, what are your salary expectations for this job? How did you answer that? Did you have a framework?
So with the salary expectations, it was, and I guess it goes back to me talking about how you position yourself. You want to show a level of flexibility, but you don't want to come across needy, like just give me any salary that you want. You really have to obviously look at the what the market is paying for that role, and then you go from that point, and then you give them a range, and then you can, I mean, towards the end of the offers that I was getting, I was able to leverage that and effectively say, look, I've had several offers from different companies. However, you're the company that I want to prioritize.
Yeah.
And then use that and just ran a mile with it.
Yeah. Yeah. We've done that like 1,000 times. Literally, go and get 5 other offers. You can even lie about it and say, look, I've got 5 other offers. They're paying me 45 to 55K. Yeah. If you can meet me in the middle at 50K, I'll like you guys. I like your company. I remember we did this with a student. I can't remember her name right now. I literally gave her the same framework. And in the first 24 to 48 hours, she said they increased that base by £5,000.
Yeah.
I posted about it on TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah.
Because she literally showed me that. Literally by £5,000, the base increase by using that framework.
It's honestly ridiculous. I mean, I was going into my interviews and just thinking, right, this is 30 grand on the line. I'm earning X amount now. And I'm like, this is 30 grand on the line. Yeah. And it's a similar thing with the negotiating process. I was just like, well, let's try and squeeze every pound out we can.
Yeah. Negotiation 101, have as much leverage as possible before you go into it. Or fake the leverage. Do whatever you have to do. No one cares. Do you know what I'm saying? So that totally makes sense. On the interview topic, what was your typical go-to answer when you got asked, are you interviewing with any of the companies right now? Again, people struggle with that. What do I say? Do I say this? Do I say that? What's a good answer to that question?
Yeah, I think it's similar. They always want to feel like they're the priority, and that was something that I made clear every single time. And I said, look, I'm in the interview process with other companies. However, you're the company that I want to prioritize, and should I get an offer, I will be looking forward to onboarding with you and accepting that offer. So it was quite straightforward in that sense. Yeah.
Why do you think, coming from a healthcare background, why do you think the healthcare industry is so badly paid in the UK? Is it a countrywide issue? Is it a NHS issue? Should it be more private? Is it because it's public? What do you think the main issue is?
I think you look at any public sector job, and they're all underpaid. They want to squeeze every bit of work out of you for the least amount of pay. Whereas in this career, then if you're bringing in revenue, they will pay whatever it takes to keep you. So they're making money themselves. There's not really that dynamic going on in the public sector.
Incentive. There's no incentive really.
Exactly, which is sad because they do such great work, but the government don't make money out of it. So why would they pay you more? I'm sure if nurses were bringing in millions of pounds of revenue for the government, they'd be like, right, we're doubling everyone's salary. Yeah,
awesome. Great answer. Again, going from a psychologist career into a sales career, okay? Obviously, the principles are the same. You're learning about how people think and how they work based on their characteristics in psychology, but you're not cold calling as a psychologist. You're not selling anything. How did you even convince yourself that you would be able to do a sales job?
In my career, we did have some degree of targets, and that was what we called recovery rates. Now, I was achieving, I think, 80% recovery rates in my patients. Now, for context, the standard for good recovery rates is 40%.
Wow, okay.
And the way that I got that, I'm not really the most theoretical psychologist out there. However, I had the soft skills and I could build rapport. And that is a significant thing in the world of psychology and sort of great talking therapy. Now, I'm so confident in myself to actually be able to translate that over into sales. It's just building rapport and building that level of trust really quickly is just helps you exponentially.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate
Best of luck with your career.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can do another one of these in 6 months to see where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we did with Magna today.
Yeah. Amazing.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you.
You.